Craig McCracken's latest animated masterpiece, Kid Cosmic, is filled with plenty of cool and fun superpowers thanks to the Cosmic Stones of Power. 14 Stones of Power to be exact, but which of these stones is the most powerful and which ones kind of missed the mark? I'm Caleb with Wicked Binge, and this is Kid Cosmic Stones Week 2 Powerful. Because the Cosmic Stones of Power can be, and often do get, used by multiple characters, we're primarily going to be focusing on the powers themselves, not characters that use them. As for our ranking, we're going to be looking at each stone's ability, as well as how versatile it can be or how much potential it may have, as demonstrated by other superpowered characters. We should warn you that there are major spoilers ahead, so maybe finish up Season 3 before you watch this vid. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. Earning the title of weakest stone of power is the Invisibility Stone. Now, we're not about to say that invisibility isn't cool or useful, it definitely is. However, this stone's power tends to lie more on the defensive side rather than the offensive. This is the type of stone you take on a stealth mission, or the one you break out when you need to make a quick escape. With Phantos, we saw him use it to steal nearly all the stones in episode 5 of season 2, showing how dangerous it can be in the right, or rather wrong, hand. But what puts the Invisibility Stone at the bottom of our list is its lack of use as an offensive power, outside of a sneak attack, that is. Unlike characters such as Sue Storm or Violet Parr, who also have the ability to create force fields along with their invisibility, this stone has no such power boost. It just turns people invisible. Really, it's no wonder this one was used the least out of all the stones.
Can't keep sneaking around all invisible. It freaks people out.
The second weakest stone is the Longevity Stone. Being the secret 14th Cosmic Stone of Power, it's technically used throughout the whole series, but it's used pretty passively. It can be used to heal, though unlike the Pain Absorption Stone, it can't then be used as a sort of a boomerang attack. It can also be used to grant its user a long life, as seen with Papa G, who was able to live to be 112 years old. Because it healed anything that could have been caused due to old age, Papa G was still able to have the physical capabilities and the stamina of a much younger man. He was also able to survive being crushed and buried under giant rocks with it. We can't put this stone any higher since it's just a healing item and can't offer much beyond that, but in terms of healing stones, we'll say that this is a pretty great one. The next stone on our list is the Multiarm Stone. It could be argued that in terms of usefulness, this stone is one of the better ones. After all, who wouldn't need an extra arm or two every once in a while, especially when working at a diner or as a caterer?
The power of productivity!
Naturally, twice the arms means twice the fist, so fighting becomes a bit easier as well with this stone. Additionally, with 4 arms, it's also easier to catch and hold on to things. But if this stone is so great, why the low ranking? Honestly, it's all about perspective. Compared to the other stones, this one just can't compete. We also had to account for the fact that, unlike the Size Enchantment Stone, there's no strength boost. So if the person using this stone is of average strength, then the arms will just have average strength too. Still a useful stone, but not exactly super. Up next, we're ranking the Elasticity Stone. In a sense, this is an advanced version of the Multi-Arm Stone. Even if there still isn't necessarily a strength boost, this stone can still be used in a variety of ways, both offensive and defensive. Powers that can work at both short and long range always have a huge advantage over those that can only do one or the other. Because of their super stretchy ability, the user of the stone also becomes incredibly flexible, and can even use their limbs to bound people and capture them. For all of this, we felt we had to give it a decent spot in our ranking. We're going to rank the Speed Stone next. Throughout superhero history, super speed has become one of those god tier powers in terms of strength and usefulness. Of course, its inclusion in Kid Cosmic is no exception. This stone helped Jo finish the pyramid puzzle fast enough to save her team, and it also ended up being the key during the team's heist in the next episode when Flo used it to swap out the stones in only 10 seconds flat. Carla, who uses the stone the most, was able to run all the way across a Rodius several times within a few seconds. Now that's fast. Although Carla is more focused on running than punching, we know based on characters like the Flash just how much getting hit with a super fast fist can hurt. What keeps this stone from going any higher is due to it being one of the stones where it's sometimes a struggle to use and keep control of, which was pretty obvious given how often we saw Carla run off the edge of something. Speaking of which, next up we have the infamous Precognition stone. We all sometimes wish we could see into the future. Not only does the Precognition stone grant that wish, but it also prevents its user from being surprised by potential dangers, whether they're only a few seconds away or a few days. That in itself earned it a fairly decent ranking. It is also able to look into the past as shown by Erodius. However, this stone does have a couple of drawbacks. For one, it only alerts its user of danger. It doesn't grant any extra powers or abilities to help fight the danger. You're on your own for that one. Additionally, those who use the stone can sometimes be overwhelmed by its visions, much like how Kid was. For these reasons, we couldn't put it any higher. Following that, we have the Goose stone. Though a bit gross, this stone isn't to be underestimated. It essentially protects its user from broken bones by turning their body into goo whenever they're crushed. It can also allow its user to escape danger quickly or get through tight spaces, allowing them to move almost like a slimy slug, which could also cause enemies to slip up. The Season 2 finale also showed how strong this stone can be when used by multiple people, strong enough to destroy a damaged Erodius. Yes, this defeat was ultimately revealed to be fake, but there's nothing saying that something like this couldn't be done with a big enough Goo stone. It could also potentially be used to suffocate someone, as seen with Phanto's ultimate defeat in Season 3. But even with all these positives and with how versatile it is, it, much like the previous stones, struggles to compete with the more offensive-focused and power-focused stones. Oh, right, there's also the side effect of potentially losing track of one's limbs while shifting.
Yep, I hate this power.
Still, we felt that it was more powerful than Invisibility or Multiple Arms. Nearing the upper half of our list, we have the Ice Stone next. Those who use this stone are able to breathe ice, much like a certain pink-wearing Powerpuff Girl we all know and love. Now, ice should never be underestimated, and neither should this stone. Just by breathing on them, users of this stone can trap enemies in thick ice, possibly causing frostbite or even death. Unfortunately, this power only goes so far. Because this power is most dependent on breath, with only those like Krosh and Phantos able to use their hands instead, its range is usually dependent on its user's lungs. Unlike someone like Queen Elsa who can create giant ice structures or sharp icicles, this stone isn't nearly as versatile. We also feel that while yes, ice can be dangerous, it's not the most dangerous element. Ranking just slightly above its twin stone is the Fire Stone. Sorry ice fans, but fire beats ice hands down. Due to its nature, even if the Fire Stone has the same breath-related range as the Ice Stone, any fire created by it still has the ability to grow and spread. It could also be argued that burns can be more devastating than being frozen. Stronger enemies can break out of ice, but you can't just walk off a third-degree burn. It may be a pretty simple power, and yes, there's still the issue of it being more short-range than long-range for most people. Even so, the Fire Stone manages to burn through most of its competition with ease. Up next, we have the Size Enhancement Stone. Primarily being Rose's stone, this toddler was able to show multiple times just how impressive this stone could be. Anyone who uses it is able to grow either their limbs or their entire bodies to enormous size with ease, and is also given super strength. When she uses it, Rose is able to toss huge rocks, take out multiple baddies at a time, and even throw a whole ship's worth of aliens back into outer space without breaking a sweat. This stone is also one of the few that doesn't seem to have any glaring disadvantages or weaknesses. In fact, it comes with quite a few bonuses. If a user is holding something while enlarging, any objects they're holding onto also enlarge with them. While in giant form, users of this stone also become extremely durable. As we saw, Rosa was able to withstand lasers, large explosions, and falls while in her giant form. Ultimately, it's the simplicity of this stone that keeps it from going any higher, as other stones outmatch it in terms of versatility. Following that, we're ranking the Replication Stone. With this stone, users can replicate themselves into any number of clones. These copies can think and act independently, essentially becoming a personal army for anyone who needs one. Or cannon fodder in Papa G's case. Speaking of which, these clones aren't very durable. Though there's no time limit for how long they last, they will disappear after enough damage. But because there's seemingly no limit on how many clones the stone can create at a time, someone who uses it can essentially keep replacing the destroyed clones forever. Even if the clones created through the stone aren't super strong, there's still strength in numbers, especially infinite numbers. As such, while it can't beat every threat, its power can beat most threats with enough time, so it earns a spot this high on our list. Earning the Bronze Medal of Power, we're ranking the Portal Creation Stone next. The main stone of Portal Girl, aka Joe, this stone is pretty much the definition of versatile. With the power to open teleportation portals, this stone can take its user anywhere and everywhere to get them out of danger. This stone's range is also huge, able to take its user across a planet or even across the galaxy. Compare that to other portal-wielding characters such as Void in The Incredibles or Leonardo in The Rise of TMNT, who had a much smaller range. In terms of how it can be used in battle, Stock Chuck personally saw what happened when someone gets caught in a closing portal.
They cut you in half! That only happened one time!
Then, in Season 2, Joe was able to use her portals to take out pretty much every enemy in the fight hole, banishing her enemies before they could even get a hit off her, while at the same time using the portals herself to dodge or get a better angle. As such, the Portal Stone can be effective in both offensive and defensive strategies. It can also be used as a sort of peephole as seen in the first episode of Season 2, and it was revealed that it could send people to an imaginary fantasy world in Season 3 as a way to trap and distract enemies. Really, the only weakness that this stone has is that its user has to be able to clearly picture where they want to go in their mind. If they can't, well, they may just end up taking an impromptu vacation somewhere else. Getting our Silver Medal of Power, we just had to go with the Pain Absorption Stone. Yeah, there's a reason why Superman is considered OP, and it's not just because of his strength and flight. Invulnerability is probably the most useful power anyone could ask for, and this stone allows its user to not only absorb pain, but heal from it instantly. It's even strong enough to protect its user against boiling lava, as we saw with Krosh. Additionally, the stone is able to store up all of that kinetic energy and pain before letting it all out in one big attack. So it can protect and it can grant users a counterattack. But what truly makes this stone amazing is its third ability. When the stone is given to Chuck, we see that he was able to easily heal and take their pain away before using that pain in a big attack. To sum it up, this stone is a shield, a cannon, and a healing spell for yourself and your allies all at once, allowing it to be useful in any circumstance or battle. What more could you ask for? Well, for our Gold Medal of Power, we have the Telekinesis Stone. Naturally, the stone of the main character would make it pretty high up in the list, even if it did take a while for Kid to figure out its true potential. Through this stone, users can levitate and control objects around them, essentially turning them into various weapons or defenses. The Season 1 finale showed that those who know how to use the stone can control multiple objects and people at once. We also see that it's pretty impossible for an enemy to resist this stone, and as such, there's almost no real way to fight against it. Kid also showed that, through using the telekinesis on himself, he was also able to levitate and fly, reaching some pretty high speeds. Finally, in Season 3, we saw that the Telekinesis Stone was strong enough to control and move an entire planet. That is just wow. Much like the Portal and Speed Stones, however, this one is dependent on control and high amounts of focus and willpower. Without that, this stone may be more trouble than it's worth. But even with that minor flaw, we just couldn't ignore the strength of this stone and had to rank it as the most powerful cosmic stone of power. But let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking and which stone of power would you want to have. Also, tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Weak to Powerful playlist, where we break down who the most powerful characters are in your favorite cartoons, shows, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.